to the Power of One. Today in the city of Philadelphia, we are faced with some scary times. Scary times for females and scary times for youth who have been affected by gun violence. Today, I am going to be speaking with a dynamic young lady who is going to tell us about some laws and some protection that women can do to keep themselves safe. Welcome to the show, Marissa. Detective Grose, please tell me about your background in law enforcement and with the military.
Okay, well, hello. Thank you for having me on, Melany. So my background in the military started in 2008, right out of high school. I joined the Army Reserve, where I served 9 years and left out honorable discharge. And in my time in the military, I had 2 jobs. Well, one starting off in human resource, which took me to my first volunteer deployment to Afghanistan. And then opened the door for me to reclass and the military police unit as a corrections. So in the military, you can break things down almost like any specialized unit. So I joined the corrections unit, and I was at towards the end of my first contract and right off of a deployment, and I was up for deployment again, but I just had my baby and she was like 6 months old. So I decided it's time to part ways with the military. During my exit, I also got employed with the sheriff's office coming off of my deployment. So I spent about 2 to 3 years doing both the reserves and my new position at the sheriff's office starting in 2014, where I have been there for 8 years now, achieving both the rank of sergeant in the military and in the sheriff's office. So that's my bit of background. At the sheriff's office, I've been assigned to the warrant unit, as is relative to my business outside of it. I've been assigned as a sergeant in the training unit, firearms training unit, where I've created training operating plans and implemented some things as it's relevant to the growth of the sheriff's office. And now I stepped down from a sergeant for personal reasons and back to a detective where I was before I made sergeant. So I've gotten 2 promotions in almost 2 years. So that's my background in the military and at the sheriff's office.
Very extensive and very, very impressive. So, detective.
Yes.
You've seen over the years, just like I've seen over the years, and being in victim services for over 7 years, where women have been shot and killed.
Yes.
Back in the day, women and children were off limits.
Yes.
With you seeing this in the many years that you've been with the sheriff's office and even with the military, did that cause you to want to do something different with females? And if so, let's talk about the right to bear arms.
Absolutely. So I think the most alarming thing, like you stated, women and children were off limits. And I think it's just being in the field that we're in, you see how people are desensitized to who the victim is. And what I realized with the crimes against women is that we were never really prepared. We're within a vulnerable population, small children, elderly, and women. And the increase, especially during the pandemic, what I realized is we're not prepared and we're not equipped for the threat, nor have we really ever been, but more so now, because we look at gun ownership, we look at that as a masculine thing. We look at it, someone else is supposed to be the savior. We're almost the damsel in distress. We're always looking to call someone instead of being our first line of defense. And what the alarming rate, the PFAs that were coming into protection from abuse orders, the numbers skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. And you realize just how quick women are out to run at the site of, because there's these PFAs involved guns that you see them check off the box often, and they're like, we're not equipped for this. You see, and they're scared. The power of them is taken away. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but this it's alarming, and it's almost, it makes you want to educate women even more, like step up and say, okay, like, listen, I carry and I'm comfortable with it. And I want to teach women that it's okay to bear arms. It's your right, not even it's okay, it's your right to do so. And just as much as we put on our lip gloss, we should be carrying our firearm for personal protection and the protection of our loved ones and our personal property, especially with the spike in crime and the desensitized, like they don't care who the victim is. And I don't know if it's more has coupled with mental health of these men who are just feeling like they don't see another person in front of them. They don't see their loved one. So let's say just a crime, more of it is intimate. Like these partners, domestic related, these partners, they're looking at, what you're looking at is your mother. What you're looking at is your daughter, but they don't have that connection. They'll just take out that firearm and quick to take your life. And I think we're so shocked at it. Like you said, this never used to happen. I'm not prepared for you to look at me less than. So just to educate women, like, okay, well, now it's time to put your big girl pants on and be in a position to protect yourself, because no one's coming to save you in that moment. It's only you. I'm sorry. True. I hope that I answered that the right way for you.
And you even brought up a fact of a PFA. And for those who are watching, a PFA is a protection from abuse. So yes, that was great. And you saying that, now that you say that, and people have a right to bear arms.
Yes.
Of course, there's rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
For everything. So we're going to dive into that piece, because we don't want people to misunderstand that you can just go out and buy a firearm and walk in the street with it. So we want to break stuff down step by step. So self-defense.
Yes.
We'll talk about self-defense, and we'll talk about what do you need as far as the law to carry a firearm. Yeah. And is that different from someone who has a firearm in their house?
Right. Okay. So let's talk self-defense. So many people have, they're not well educated, because there's no standard of training when I go to purchase a firearm, like you would when you're Act 235, which is like a security agent or a law enforcement officer. So when you get this firearm, if you don't know what self-defense is like you feel as you must meet this threat with equal force. So someone's coming at you with a weapon intended to cause serious bodily injury or death, that you can use your firearm to save your life or to neutralize the threat. And there's a stand, like Pennsylvania is a stand your ground. So another self-defense, if you come into my home and I'm home and you decide to kick down my door and you pass that threshold, if it's my immediate thought that you are going to cause me harm, my loved ones harm, then I can meet you with deadly force. Versus if you are arriving home and someone's burglarizing your home, you cannot just shoot them. Now, if you pass your threshold and you realize they were in your home and they met you with the element of surprise and you felt like your life was in danger, you made the decision, I must shoot this person. That's standing your ground, but not just to witness a crime happening when you have the ability to get out of Dodge, but you engage them with deadly force. You will go to jail. There will be charges. That's not self-defense. Self-defense is, I feel it is immediate. I feel immediate threat, my life of serious bodily harm, and I will meet you with the same equal force ending and resulting in me using my firearm.
Okay. Now, someone can have a firearm in their home. Do
yes.
They have to have a license to carry if the firearm is in their home? And if you want to carry on the street, you actually need a license to carry, correct? in the
Yes.
state of PA?
Yes. So you can have, there's two places where you can carry without a permit. That's in your concealed carry in your home. You can have a firearm in your home without a permit in your fixed place of business. Those are two places that you do not need a permit to carry, pending that you don't have any felonies, right? Because felonies opt you out of that. But if you are eligible to carry and you don't have a license, you don't need a permit to have a firearm in your home. And that's underneath the Second Amendment, is to protect your home and your immediate place of business.
Okay. But you need a license to carry outside again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you decide to go outside with this firearm on you, you need to make sure that you meet the requirements, the age requirements, and get licensed. You need to be licensed. Now, in Philadelphia, you have to conceal carry, but Pennsylvania is an open state. So as long as you're in Philadelphia, you need to make sure that that firearms you are carrying comes with your concealed to carry license. At all times, you're supposed to have your concealed carry license on you. And that license is good throughout the state. So you don't have to go outside of Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia and obtain a different license. That one is good. But when you come to to Philadelphia, you need to make sure you have your license to carry, your concealed license to carry.
So, okay. So talk to me about that. Concealed and then open carry.
Yes.
So I'm licensed to carry. So does that mean that I can walk out my door and have my gun on my hip?
In Philadelphia? No.
Yeah.
So concealment means just that. No one is supposed to see your firearm, not even in tight-fitting clothing, unless you're an officer, unless you're in uniform, unless that But if you are just a regular civilian carrying in Philadelphia, it's supposed to be concealed on your person so that no one else knows. And that's kind of how you want to carry anyway. I want to have the element surprise. So I'm glad that Philadelphia has that. That open carry outside of Philadelphia takes the element of surprise, but it's your right to open carry. And open carry means that it can be it could be observed from anyone on your person. It can be poking out. It can be just, I can tell how cute your gun is and where you're carrying it. That's your right to do so.
Okay. So it amazes me, detective, that when we're going to get a driver's license, so you have to have that permit first. You have to pass that test to get your permit.
Right.
And then we get in the car with the instructor and we're taking this test. So I failed my driving test probably about 3 or 4 times.
Same here.
And so one time, I'm going off the subject here, but I have to tell the story. One time my dad goes with me. I'm a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mommy and daddy's girl, but daddy's girl. So I go to the range. We decide to go far from my house because I done failed it twice by my house. So we decided to ride out West Philly. And my dad knows the state trooper. So he's like, oh, hey. So I know my dad's like, oh, baby girl, got it. It was raining, detective. So you got to turn the car off, everything. Car's off. Pouring down raining. I turn the car on and start the test. I'm sitting all the way up. I'm like, I can't see. I never once turned the windshield. Wipers on through the whole test. Got that. The guy was like, told my dad, she's great. She can drive, but she never once turned the windshield. My dad just looked at me like really? So he was like, bless her heart. You know, when somebody say bless your heart, they're thinking. Anyway, I failed the test like 3 times. It amazes me that someone can purchase a firearm and that's it. There's no training involved. You don't have to prove that you know how to actually work this device. Right. So, what would you suggest we're talking about the females, we're empowering females. What would you suggest for that female who wants to protect herself, that female that's looking at the news that's saying, listen, I have to figure out how I can protect myself because I'm scared to walk the streets of Philadelphia. What would you say to that new gun owner who wants to purchase a firearm for their safety?
Well, first, I would tell her that she needs to get my ebook that gives you all the information on the laws from start to finish the recommended firearms, the recommended ranges and instructors, she should get my book. But outside of that, if I were to tell any woman that is watching this or going to share this with anyone, it is your duty and obligation now and responsibility as a firearm owner to seek out additional training. It's out there. There are plenty, and I would say plenty right now, way more than we've ever had, women firearm instructors. If you feel comfortable with that, I know that I've spoken to plenty of women who have not done extra training because they feel intimidated by going to a range with a male instructor. But some training is better than no training. So I would say to seek out an instructor and take a very basic course. They run under maybe $200. And it's worth the money, because at the end of the day, if you're not well equipped and well knowledgeable about your firearm, and you're in front of a person who is, I always say, if I have a firearm and they don't have a firearm and I'm not trained, my firearm is their firearm. You have to think about it that way. You have to think like there's not just one gun in this room anymore, and I'm not in control. If I'm not knowledgeable about my firearm, if I don't know how to properly take it out the holster and get my firearm onto the threat that is coming towards me. So it's worth it, because it could be life or death. And it's just like that. So you get my ebook, and I have the resources all in one place, because I know even that gets a little bit intimidating to say, I don't know where to look. I don't know where to start. I purchased my gun from here, but they didn't have any resources. I went training here, but they didn't have any additional resources. So it's to find a resource, protect your peace, which I have. Find your resource, keep it like a Bible, keep it like you keep your lip gloss, read through the chapters and say, I have a question about this. Oh, this isn't here. You need to be educated before you are licensed to carry. You need to be educated before you go out there and purchase a firearm and decide to wear it, or decide to have it in your fixed place of business or in your home. You need to be educated. That's the first step of firearm ownership.
And I agree. I want to say I applied for my license to carry.
Yeah.
It had to be probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago, when there was a young lady in Germantown who had just got, I want to say she just got off work. I don't know if she just got off the bus and I worked this case, but she was coming home and it was at night, and she was looking at her phone. So, when you look at your phone at night and when you look up, you're blinded.
Oh, absolutely.
So she was looking at her phone, she was walking, and this guy actually grabbed her and put her in his car. And she was missing for days. He actually, they crossed state lines and everything, detective. That was so scary.
Yes.
To me. And her life will never be the same.
Oh, no.
So I received my license to carry, and then I renewed it, I want to say, last year. Renewing it last year, my husband was saying, babe, you have to get a firearm. And I'm like, okay, it bothered me.
Yeah.
So I took the FBI Civilian Academy.
Okay.
And we went up and we shot, and they had like a 9. And I want to say it's a powerful 9. It's not like your regular 9. And they had machine guns. I said, okay. So I get up there, we did the safety part of it first. Detective, I shot it once and it had like a crazy kick.
Yes.
My mind just went, and then I shot it again.
Yes. And
in my mind, I said, all of those victims and those people who died, we're in a time where people are emptying clips on people, detective.
Absolutely.
All of that went through my mind, and I was like, how could you kill somebody like this? I cried, and I cried. So here it is. My husband thinking he's Rambo. His turn's next. He up there shooting. He turns around. I'm in the arms of another guy who's still on the FBI. I'm crying. I'm like, oh. So he turns around and was like, what happened? It just went on through me. So I did purchase a firearm, and I said that I wanted to educate myself.
Yes.
So I work with great officers in the Northwest section of Philadelphia. So I reached out to the victim assistant officer, Officer Foley, and she said, I know a great instructor. And he made me feel really comfortable.
Yes.
To where I could like shoot my firearm. He educated me on my firearm. I don't like it, but unfortunately we're living in a day and time where people feel as though that they have to protect themselves. Now, I've spoken to a couple of people. Dr. Etsy is one of them. She's a therapist for Northwest Victim Services.
Yeah.
She's so against firearms. And I love Dr. Etsy to death. So I'm looking at her like, okay, we were out to lunch. Don't look at my pocketbook because you're not going to be happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So what would you say to that person, that female that is just like so dead set against it?
So when I speak to women, and I've spoken to women who at first are against it, and I don't think they understand the severity of the consequence when you don't and someone does. And it's not about being a gun enthusiastic. And I always like to tell people that like I am en route to greatness, being out here in Philadelphia and in the Pennsylvania area, tri-state, to equip women with the education and become a firearm instructor. And it's not to say I love guns. No, I love my life, and I value my life, and I can't leave it up to the good consciousness of someone pointing a gun at me to plead to their conscience to say, listen, I have kids at home. We just seen a video of the Uber driver who she says, I have 4 kids. And and I don't know if she was carrying. I can probably say she wasn't. And there's a person who's meeting you with that threat, and you want to be in a position to come home to your babies. You want to be in a position to come home to your loved ones. You want to live the rest of your life. You don't want it taken at the hands of someone who, again, is desensitized to you and don't care about you. So I like to just, again, implore women. It's not about being a gun enthusiast. It's not about loving guns. It's about being in a position to protect yourself with the necessary force. And like you said, in today's age, the necessary force and the violence against women has increased. Like we have met a different level now. We're at the, okay, I have to carry this just for my safety. It used to be a taser. It used to be mace. It's not that anymore. It's way more serious, and the crimes are way less petty, or way more petty. Let's say they're way more petty. They're petty crimes. They're taking this lady's life for let's talk about the daycare recently. I'm sorry to jump, but the daycare, 3 women go inside of a daycare, one with a firearm and for a laptop or tablet. You know, like that's in people's mind, that should be a shock, but that's just the culture we're in. And right. I want to be able to go home to my children. I want to be able to protect these babies by any means. They're my responsibility. It's about walking away from a situation alive. Like you could do it dead, but it's about you choosing your life and the importance of your life and the relevancy of your own life over someone, trusting that someone will not do it. I'd rather be overly prepared than not prepared at all. And I tell these women.
Yeah, I understand that. So, Detective, you wrote a book.
You
have an ebook. So, tell me about your ebook, how it prepares, how it speaks about the law, and then tell the viewers how they can access your ebook.
Okay, so I created a resource book. And of course, I put a bit of my personality in there because I don't rewrite or make laws, and that is within the ebook. So I have a little pretty version right here. So it's Protect Your Peace. I had to print it out for you lovely people. And inside the book, it speaks of the laws. It speaks of recommended firearms, different chapters. It's know the law. You need to know your piece and the statistics on violence against women so that you know how serious it is. That's in the book. Statistics from CDC and Women Against Violence Act. These women and people and just human beings out here making it very out there and known that the threat is there. So I put this in this ebook and I put it together to share a short story. I had a best friend in third grade. Her name was Amber, and I haven't seen her in years. And I ran into her in 2014. She was at a shoe store, and you know when you know somebody, right? So Melany, somebody sees your face, you know, like that's Melany. Like no matter how many years go by, like that's Melany. And that's what I thought. I was like, oh my God, Amber. Well, a month ago, I seen on the news a verdict came out for this death for this female, Amber. And I looked at the picture and my heart sank. I said, no, this can't be true. She was murdered in 2016. Cause of death, homicide by firearm, right? And it just kind of confirmed that I was on the right path. And I put her story in here because Amber is you, Amber's me, Amber's, Amber is all of us. And she was in a position where I would like to say if she was carrying, could that have saved her life? Again, she's a woman. The crime against women has increased. And I put this book together and I kind of sealed it with love and with the encouragement, like to encourage women to own a firearm and to go out there and get it. So because you have welcomed me on your platform, this platform to share with me, if you email me at Marie, MARI.ELLELLC@gmail.com, you'll be able to get a free copy. Just email me and say, I want a free copy of the ebook. I'm also on Instagram at Protect, PROTECT, YOPIECE, Protect Your Peace. I'm on Instagram, and then that's my email, and that's how you can get to me, contact me for a free copy of this book. I am pushing it out for free because, like we mentioned earlier, educating women is the first step. Getting educated about firearms, knowing where to go, knowing what you can do, knowing what you can't do, and being confident of gun ownership. It starts with your mind, and then you can carry.
That's awesome. Detective, I am truly grateful that I met you. I am proud of the work that you are doing. Keep up the good work. And I love the steps that you're taking. Education first, and then we move on to the next step of you protecting yourself. Thank you so much, Detective, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I was so excited. I thought I was going to fumble this, but when you speak from your heart and you know what you're talking about, at the end of the day, you're like, you could come through. You got this. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that. Thank you. I'm so glad that I met you. And like I said, Women Empowerment Month was last month, but we're going to carry this through the rest of our lives. So,
that's right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please understand your safety means a lot. And we have to do things to ensure that we are safe to the best of our ability, because unfortunately things happen beyond our control. It is my hope that Philadelphia will see a day where gun violence is no more. Thank you for joining me today. Peace and love.